Hello there everyone, and welcome back to Lovely Grind. My name is Michael Preby and my website is www.lovelygrind.com. That's where you're going to find blog posts about professional fulfillment, spiritual growth, and a balanced approach to total health. Welcome back to this current series of YouTube videos that I'm doing about prescription drug withdrawal. This series of videos is about understanding that withdrawal, surviving that withdrawal, and even growing through that withdrawal. As those of you who have seen my previous videos know, my particular withdrawal story involves the medications Paxil and Xanax. Those were prescriptions that I was put on way back when in college because of some panic attacks and social anxiety I'd begun experiencing. And rather than drop out of college, which is what I was about to do, I began taking these medications at the suggestion of a family doctor, and I took them for nearly the next decade and a half. Now, they seemed to work for a period of time, and they did work for a period of time for the panic and the anxiety, but they also caused other problems throughout those years. So there was really peaks and valleys as far as if they were helping or hurting, and eventually the symptoms that they were causing me emotionally and physically became so troublesome that I decided once and for all that I was going to quit these medications. That was when I was approaching my mid-30s. And I did quit the medications, both of them, but what happened then was severe withdrawal syndrome that hit me, and I didn't see it coming, and I didn't understand it, and it lasted for a couple of years, but eventually it did get better. And for all of you who are still going through it out there, I'm making these videos to assure you that yours will eventually get better too. Now, the video that I'm doing today is about the topic of reinstatement. I've been making these videos for a while now. I've been talking to a lot of people through my websites and online through these YouTube comments and emails, and a lot of people seem to be obsessed with the idea of reinstating medication, or at least they're wrestling with it. They're really struggling with that question, especially in the early stages of withdrawal. You know, they make it 3 or 4 or 5 months off the medications and they start wondering, should I go back on the medication, or should I try perhaps a different medication, whether it's the different name in the same class of medications or a different class altogether. But people are really wrestling with that question. Should I reinstate? Is that the answer? The symptoms are just too severe, whether it's the mental or the physical symptoms. And at first, when I was talking to everyone about this and they were asking me, should I reinstate? What do you think about that? I really couldn't understand where everyone was coming from. I was thinking to myself, why is there this obsession out there with going back to a path that was obviously causing problems, you know, in the not too distant past? Why would people want to go back and take the same medications they were so determined to get off of just a short time ago? And what I had forgotten is that I wrestled with these same questions pretty severely during my first period off of Paxil. You know, I remember very starkly within the first 3 to 4 months after I quit Paxil. That was December of 2013 is when I stopped taking that medication. It was November, December of 2013. And sometime in the following winter or in the following spring, right in that period of time, I remember breaking down on a Saturday afternoon and calling my mom. You know, I'm a mid-30s guy. I'm sitting alone on a Saturday morning, and I call my mom breaking down in tears because I just had made the decision to take what you could call a reinstatement or rescue dose of Paxil. I thought, you know, this is the answer. I can't take this path anymore. This is where I'm at. I need this medication. Well, I took the medication, and what happened was I got severely sick. It was just the most bizarre series of things that hit me: nausea and dizziness and kind of a motion sick feeling, as well as just this sinking feeling in the bottom of my stomach. You know, why did I do this? What's wrong with me? Why can't I survive without these medications? And I even asked that question to my mom, why can't I survive without these? And I begged her, please don't think less of me if I go back on them. You know, so I really wrestled with that reinstatement question myself. And I starkly remembered that scenario, that rescue dose of Paxil, when I was speaking with people. But what I had forgotten about was there was also a couple other times during that first 5 or 6 months off Paxil that I had tried medications as well. I had tried Wellbutrin for about 8 days, and looking back at my notes the other week, I see that I had tried Lexapro, 2.5 milligrams, which I believe is a small dose for that medication, but I tried that for nearly 2 months. So there was a period of time, whether I remember it well at this point or not, that I was pretty obsessed with that reinstatement question myself. I do remember I'd be sitting in my office at the time during a work day, calling my doctor and saying, what if I tried this medication that I've researched online? Or what if I tried that medication? Maybe the problem was the Paxil, but a different medication would be the answer. A different SSRI. Or perhaps my body's tolerant to an SSRI, so maybe an SNRI. Or perhaps this benzo called Xanax is the solution, but what about something else? Because right when I quit that Paxil, I was also beginning taper off my Xanax, and further down the line there, I had my own reinstatement thoughts while I was going through that taper. But that period of the first 5 or 6 months off of the SSRI, I really wrestled with that reinstatement question myself, even to the point of trying a couple of different medications, until one day, I finally made the decision, I'm getting off this carousel, I'm done with it. The solution for me is not going back to something like Paxil or some other class of medication. My solution lies in moving forward, no matter the pain, to a life that just doesn't have to think about these pills anymore. And that's eventually what I did. And that's eventually how I found my healing. It wasn't overnight and it wasn't easy, but that's the way that I believe that healing will truly come once you take that last dose and put as much time as possible between yourself and the last dose without any additional medications in the mix. And everyone's scenario is different. Some people are quitting one medication while they're still on another, as I was. I tapered off my Xanax for about 1.25 years to 1.5 years. So while I was healing from Paxil, I was also going through a Xanax withdrawal on the taper, and then a withdrawal after that from the Xanax. So, there was healing, I believe, going on the whole time, but it's a complicated process. For me, it was. I'm sure it is for you people out there as well who are maybe have been put on a couple different medications. But the bottom line is, I think eventually, even if you wrestle with the reinstatement question for a bit, you're going to come to the conclusion that these other medications are eventually going to have their own withdrawal syndrome that's going to come down the line. And perhaps you're just getting into some other problematic scenario that's then going to take place who knows when, maybe 5 years down the line or whatever it is. There's nothing wrong with people wrestling with these questions. Should they go on another medication? Shouldn't they? I'm not here to say one way or the other what someone should or shouldn't do, because I don't know the severity of anyone's depression or anxiety or obsessive compulsive thoughts right now. I don't know where a person's personal life is at and how in order or out of order all the rest of life is, like spiritual life and exercise and diet and relationships and so forth. There's a lot of pieces to put together to have a peaceful life, a fulfilled life, and a life that doesn't rely on medications. So if someone's still going through a very troublesome scenario in their personal life, perhaps they still do need medications for a period of time. Now, if it's just the withdrawal symptoms hitting a person, I believe that's just a hump mentally that people need to get over. The kind of mental reliance on these medications. Envisioning a life without the medications, that's really the first step in moving forward towards true healing. So, what should you do if you're considering reinstatement? Well, I think a couple things. I think ask yourself logically, would another medication really be the answer, or is it just more of the same problems in another name? Also, look online. I don't usually suggest to people looking online for too much information regarding withdrawal and so forth, because it's too often just horror stories and useless information. But one of the things that would be useful while considering a reinstatement question would be to look online and say, well, what are the withdrawal symptoms of this other medication that I'm thinking about trying? Because chances are there's a whole bunch of withdrawal symptoms that come with that medication as well. If you already have a good chunk of progress under your belt and you've been off of a medication for 2 or 4 months or 8 months or whatever it is, just think how much healing you truly do have under your belt, even if it doesn't feel like it, and how far you've come. And so I just don't want to see anyone throw away all that work, because I think so many people start taking another medication, unfortunately, right when they're on the precipice of actually seeing the true healing start to take place, because the withdrawal symptom, the symptoms can be so painful and long lasting. And I know from experience, it's really a daily struggle to keep the motivation. But I just don't want to see people reverting back to a harmful path right when they're on the verge of seeing true healing and true progress. So that's my little video on reinstatement today. I know it's a complicated question, but again, it's one that I wrestled with for that first 6 months off of medications. I think a lot of people wrestle with it. You know, it's kind of ingrained in our thinking at that point, you know, medication is the answer, because we've been told that medication is the healthy thing to do. Whether we got on the pills for sleep problems or anxiety or depression, the pills were presented as the healthy option, the way to get healthy. And then when we get off them, we start thinking, well, okay, maybe I'm doing the irresponsible thing, or maybe, you know, this isn't the best way for me to go forward because of these symptoms. Something's really wrong with me and I just need the pills. You know, so it's understandable that we're kind of lost in that mental quagmire for a while. And I really believe it's just kind of a hump that we need to get over mentally. And once we do, that's when it's just set in stone that, okay, we're moving forward without these medications no matter what. And that's a great hump to be over. So please keep all these things in mind. Message me with questions or comments. Again, you can message me on this video channel on YouTube here. Please subscribe to it also. You can go to my Facebook page, Lovely Grind, or my website, Lovely Grind. Also, Michael Preview Writer is a website I have, and I have a Facebook and Twitter page with that as well. Also, for some of you out there who might want to speak more with me, I have begun recently doing some coaching sessions with individuals going through antidepressant or benzo withdrawals, and those have been going really well. So we do those sessions via Skype or phone, whichever you prefer. And so if you'd be interested in that, just shoot me a message, email me, and I'll send you more information, and perhaps we'll talk further about that. Also, please go to my website, lovelygrind.com, and subscribe to that mailing list, because there's a lot of blog posts. I send out a monthly newsletter regarding spiritual growth and topics of health and topics of wellness that I think will benefit some of you out there who are just looking for a little encouragement and direction on a weekly or monthly basis. So once again, my name is Michael Preby. Until next time, please remember to take care of yourself and your dreams.